A bad man fell from the sky.
There we go. Look, Ma, I'm a skull monkey. In fact, I am Skullmonkey, the king of all skull monkeys.
Clogmonkey will never get away with this. My people are far too smart to accept him as leader.
First, we make an evil engine.
We make an evil engine.
Evil engine number 9.
Number 9.
To destroy the Neverhood.
Destroy the Neverhood.
Now let's get to work.
Let's get to work.
Hey there fellow netizens, it's the 8-Bit Academic here once again, bringing you some classic gaming and weird bits of information that make up the massive amount of Earth's lore. In today's episode, I will be showcasing a game that was kinda meh at best, especially since its prequel was pretty awesome and unique even by today's standards. I'm of course talking about Skullmonkeys, the sequel to the 1996 point-and-click adventure game called The Neverhood, which I plan to do a future video on if I can somehow get the abandonware game to work on Windows 10, because unfortunately a lot of these old PC games from the 90s were never really fully optimized for modern operating systems, and one has to perform literal sorcery and faith miracles in order to get them to work properly, and even when you do manage to do that, there will still be the occasional game crash, sound and music files not working, or some other weird shit that may cause your PC to turn into an interdimensional gateway for eldritch abominations to pass through and doom humanity. Anyway, after the massive success of the claymation classic The Neverhood, its developer, with the super totally original company name of Neverhood Inc., decided to make a sequel exclusively for the PlayStation 1, which would be published by the evil corporate dictatorship known as Electronic Arts in 1998. Unfortunately, unlike its predecessor, Skullmonkeys would be met with a massive sigh of disappointment.
Disappointed!
As fans and critics alike, while praising the claymation and stop-motion art style, would absolutely dunk on the gameplay, questioning why it went from being a well-beloved point-and-click adventure classic to a monotonous, side-scrolling, hippity-hoppity platformer, which was sometimes quite frustrating and extremely repetitive, as one can see in the gameplay examples I provided. And truth be told, usually I'm a completionist with games, even if they are extremely difficult, and I perform poorly at some of them, but with Skullmonkeys, the overly repetitive nature and monotony just ended up making the entire experience even more annoying. So I ended up not finishing it and have absolutely no desire to do so in the future. I just recorded this for this channel, well, because
only money that I want.
the story of the game as well is quite basic in comparison to the first one, with players once again taking control of the ever so oblivious hero Clayman, who this time must defeat a horde of creatures called Skullmonkeys under the command of Clog, his old nemesis from the first game. While the gameplay itself was utterly average,
It's so boring!
one must commend Neverhood Inc. for continuing with the weird themes and extremely funny slapstick humor, as well as the unique art style, which was entirely made up of clay sculpted environments and characters. Now, with all that game history out of the way, let's move on to today's topic. If, like me, you grew up and lived your entire life in sunny South Africa, where the crime rate is high, the politics are corrupt, and the average citizens can simultaneously love and hate each other at the same time while trying to survive our own real-life version of the Mad Max movies, you would have no doubt come across this really strange tabloid newspaper called The Daily Sun. Where do I even start with this one? Like, The Daily Sun has had some of the most bizarre headlines I've ever seen in my entire life. Ranging from Tokoloshi stealing a man's voice, I'll make a separate video on the Tokoloshi in the future, you can count on that, to people dying and coming back to life, to a pansy that could shapeshift into a snake which then bit some lady on her thigh and terrorized the family in Soweto. Like, some truly wild stuff. Anyway, I digress. Let's start at the beginning. The Daily Sun is a South African tabloid newspaper which started circulation on the 1st of June 2002 by Media24, a division of the Naspers Group. It was the brainchild of veteran journalist Dion du Plessis, who remained its publisher and minority shareholder until 11th September 2011 when he died suddenly at his Johannesburg home. It has a circulation of more than 28,000 copies, making it the second largest daily newspaper in the country compared to the Sunday Times in terms of largest circulation among all papers. And in addition to its print publication, the Daily Sun has also transitioned to a digital platform with a monthly page view count of about 4.7 million and an active user base of 3 million in 2023. Wow, that is pretty impressive. That's like 5% of South Africa's population, I think. Don't quote me on that, I'm terrible at maths. Majority of its general reader base are predominantly black, English literate, working class earners, and much of its overall content, at least in its early days, centered around sport, in this case mostly soccer, or football for those imaginary English hooligans who might attack me in the comments for using the forbidden name of their favorite sport, sex scandals, horror, personal tragedies, and traditional African beliefs, some of which may include witchcraft, like the aforementioned Tokoloshi, going around and stealing people's voices. In the past decade and a half, however, it has started to shift to becoming a more legitimate news reporting publication, with a focus on more current events, politics, and even celebrity gossip. But don't get it twisted, the weird stuff is still there, but not as much as before. Anyway, if I have to be honest, I couldn't really find much about the actual internal workings, history, or even just the reason behind the Daily Sun and why it exists, and what inspired its approach to tabloid news, which is definitely unique, especially when you compare it to other examples of tabloid news. So, sorry if this video is a tad bit disappointing. Like, trust me, I really tried. I even went to their official website to see if I could find more information, but it seems though as if they are really trying to establish themselves as a legitimate newspaper. Not saying that they weren't before, but as I mentioned earlier, the focus has now shifted more towards actual local news, more in line with other publications like the Sunday Times, the Sowetan, Daily Maverick, and so on. But one can definitely still find examples of the crazy headlines and bizarre articles that they used to publish as recently as... Wait. They still do the witchcraft stuff? Oh shit, we are so back, boy. Okay, never mind. Forget all that mumbo jumbo about shifting more towards real news. I mean, they do that as well, but they still got the weird stuff. Daily Sun, please, never change. I remember many a long walk to the nearest spa or food lovers during lunchtime and in between lectures with my friends in Multimedia Art College studying for a diploma that would absolutely get me nowhere in life, fill me with regrets of not just becoming a lawyer or a doctor or joining the army like a true South African patriot, and force me to attempt to become a social media influencer in my mid-30s.
Hello darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again.
But during those happier and more carefree times, we would come across the odd street lampposts or traffic lights or robots, as we call them in South Africa, of these big bold headlines saying things like "Ancestors speak from beyond the grave," or "Tokoloshi stole my voice," or "Man awakens from coffin at his own funeral," and they would provide for really dry humor and mundane entertainment while on a quest for sustenance with my friends and classmates. So let's take a quick look at some of the craziest headlines and articles that I could find from the Daily Sun that happened over the years since then. A few from around the year 2016 goes as follows: Flying naked woman steals cop car. And reading through the article, it is indeed about a naked woman supposedly flying through the air on a broom like the classical image of a witch, who terrified residents of L section in KwaMashu in Durban, who apparently even had the brave and ever vigilant South African police services running in fear, from Pastor Doom to Pastor Disinfectant. This one is one that should be very familiar to South Africans, as there has been a strange trend over the years of local religious leaders claiming to be able to perform miracles and then proceeding to convince their entire congregations to drink disinfectant, eat rat poison, grass, leaves, bark, and inhale full doses of bug spray, claiming that their faith in God will prevent them from getting either seriously ill or dying. And that is exactly what this particular article is about, which, while quite bizarre and strange, and a little bit funny if I have to be honest, is also kinda sad, because these are obviously misinformed and poor people being taken advantage of by what in reality are a bunch of cult leaders. Another one reads, I don't feel sexy in panties, which is allegedly about a woman who back in 2016 was partying it up in clubs around the Umlazi area in Durban with no underwear and causing quite a stir and a bunch of bleeding noses as a result. Please, Daily Sun, explain to me, how the f was this considered news? Like, what was the plan or thought process here? Like, oh, you know what our readers are going to love? If we print an entire article about a random woman who dances at the club without underwear. And the last one from the year when Harambe the gorilla died and forever altered the timeline of Earth. This one is titled, Why Am I a Blesser? For those who don't know what a blesser is, it's basically a sugar daddy. And the entire article is about a wealthy man by the name of Sergio Kabonge, who according to him spends an exorbitant amount of money on young women in return for weird sexual favors because he is totally a feminist who respects women by paying them to probably allow him to poop on their face. He said he believes in sharing his fortune with young girls. I take them out to expensive clubs and buy them expensive clothes, food and wine. And of course I give them money, as quoted in the article. A woman needs to be spoiled. It all depends on her age and her needs, but I do spend thousands. I'm blessed and I share my blessing by being a blesser, he said. And added to these, there are a ton of other articles and headlines of absolutely unnewsworthy but highly entertaining and bizarre content, ranging from a woman's son stealing her panties to police arresting a guy for getting freaky with a corpse. To each their own. A woman regretting using muti on her husband because now he's too obsessed with her. Muti being a term used for witchcraft or a spell in South African traditional or occult practices. There's one from last year September of an Inyanga or shaman threatening to send zombies after a local celebrity, and another from August as well about a Sangoma who is also a type of shaman that apparently helped a resident of Ekurhuleni regain goods that were stolen from his house by giving him some muti that caused the thieves to come back and return what they stole. South African magic is indeed very effective judging by these stories. Who needs nuclear deterrence when you have wizards? A story from 2013 about a woman who out of jealousy and spite cursed her neighbor whose ghost came back to haunt her. Another one from 2023 about a 50-year-old man from Tshwane who is being tormented by a tokoloshi that apparently prevents him from getting his Johnson up and thus results in him underperforming in the bedroom and leaving the poor guy in a state of forever alone. And the list could go on and on, but in conclusion, the Daily Sun is, in my opinion, probably the most entertaining newspaper in the history of the world. It has everything from real-world politics and current events, celebrity gossip, sports news, as well as that extra flavor of strangeness that would have made for some great episodes of The Twilight Zone or The X-Files back in the day. And if one has to be honest, it is absolutely admirable that it has become such a successful tabloid newspaper with the amount of weird stories it reports on. Clearly there's an audience for these types of stories, and I'm definitely one of those people as well, because as much as I cover serious topics related to science or history on this channel, sometimes I can't help but every so now and then talk about something that dabbles in the extraordinary, because that shit is f***ing fun. And that is why I will reiterate that the Daily Sun is the greatest newspaper ever. Sadly though, unless you're a member of the Rockefeller family, all good things eventually come to an end, since as of June 2024, the South African investment and financial news website MoneyWeb reported that the newspaper would have ceased printing in October of the same year. A month later, however, though, Media24 announced it will suspend the planned closure until the Competition Commission, the South African government's final stand against corporate monopolies, approves of its plan to sell their newspaper distribution company On the Dot to Novus Holdings, one of South Africa's largest print production companies. This breaks my heart because it means we will no longer get those real-life Harry Potter stories about magic and sorcery, witchcraft, aliens, dragons, ogres, and zombies. Please someone start an online petition or a GoFundMe to save the Daily Sun. As much as I love them, I won't do it because I'm too lazy. Just a disclaimer though, I hope I haven't offended anyone with my tongue-in-cheek and slightly offensive humor
I take responsibility.
regarding the Daily Sun and their stories of local witchcraft. I know that some people genuinely believe in these things and is very much a part of South African culture and tradition. And even I myself have experienced some weird things over the course of my life as well, which I may or may not talk about in future videos. If you really want me to, then let me know in the comments below. Other than that, don't mind me. I'm just trying to be edgy so that I can join the Cool Kids Controversy Club and get my sweet bag of attention to give meaning to my life.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Yes, I know that last part is a bit too deep, but I don't care. Now give me all of your sympathy points and subscribe to my channel. Anyway, that's it from me for the 8-Bit Academic. I will link to some of the Daily Sun articles I mentioned in the description box below if you want to check them out for yourselves, as well as an interesting blog piece written in 2006 about the immense success of the Tabloid newspaper in its first year of print, its founders and the formula for its success, as well as a literary explanation for why they report the type of stories they do and how it differs from other tabloid or gossip media that I found while researching this video. I didn't cover all that because it was going to end up making the video way too long, and it's an extremely long essay. Until next time, salagahle bafethu, and I'll see you in the next one.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer. Every night, I can feel my leg and my arm, even my fingers.